Would you like to know the single most important reason that we stay hooked into the narcissist? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to tell you why. Hi, welcome to Coaching with Kalia, where I help you to heal your core wounds and transform your life. I have worked in the field of coaching, counseling, and hypnotherapy for over 12 years now, and have worked with so many people who have come to me to try to help them to break their connection with a narcissist. I've gone through this myself, and I know how difficult it can be when you feel that constant pull to that person. And the number one question that people ask is, how do I break these cords? How do I disconnect my energy from this narcissistic person? Well, I'm going to talk about the single most important reason that people stay hooked in. Now, it's really common after you've gone through a love bombing stage where you're getting all of this attention and all of this affection and all these goodies that really make you feel good, that you kind of hold on wondering what happened. Where did those goodies go? Where's that person that I met in the beginning? It's typical to try to get that person back, to develop a belief that that person that you fell for is the real person. And then as that relationship progresses, you begin to find out, wow, okay, this person isn't who I thought that they were. They're doing this, they're doing that. All the manipulation, the control, the things that they're doing that are hurtful, the cheating, everything that goes on in a narcissistic relationship. I don't have to really talk about that because I'm sure that you've done a lot of your own research on that topic. However, the question is, why do I keep holding on? What is this hook? And the hook is that we continue to hold out for the person that we believe that narcissist to be. We have this belief that that initial person that we met is the real deal. So if we can get that person back, everything would be great. Maybe they're just going through a hard time. Maybe they're just under stress. So we end up making excuses for that person and holding on, holding out. And even after what we call the devaluing and the discarding, even after the relationship is over and that person is physically out of your life, there's still that hook that happened. You're still waiting. You're still waiting on some level for that person to return with an apology, with that person wanting to make it right and show you that good stuff again, show you that good side of that person. We're not really going to let go. We're not really going to become unhooked until we really get clear in our mind and in our belief system that that person is not who we thought they were. Now, a lot of people that come to me have already done their research on narcissism. They already know what a narcissist is. They're just looking for ways to heal. Knowing what a narcissist is can be really insightful, but it doesn't necessarily help you to heal. So people who come to me already know on the most part, that they're dealing with a narcissist. But there's always a question. In fact, I've had a lot of people come to me just because they want to know my opinion. Do you think this person's a narcissist? And the reason they want that from me, somebody that specializes in narcissistic abuse, is because there's still a part of them that believes if they're not a narcissist, that they can still have what they want from that person. And really, the truth is, it doesn't really matter what the diagnosis is for that person. If they are mistreating you and doing all the things a narcissist does, that's probably a pretty good sign that they're not who you thought they were. So you have to develop a level of acceptance that this person is not who I thought they were, not who I wanted them to be, not who I need them to be. That acceptance is crucial for cutting those cords and moving on. That acceptance is crucial for unhooking and moving on with your life. As long as you have a belief that that person is your soulmate, your twin flame, the love of your life, you're never going to break free. You're always going to stay hooked into believing that things will change. Things are not going to change. In my experience, people that I've worked with have gone back to the narcissist, sometimes several times, and they end up, kind of disappearing. I work with them for a little bit and then they disappear, and then they come back and say, wow, I got sucked back in, and this time he was so wonderful and so loving, and he even offered an apology, and he seemed to be accountable, and I needed to believe, or I wanted to believe that this was the real person, that he really was changing, that he really did see the error of his ways. And then what they found is the devaluing and the discarding that followed was even worse than the first time, and they're even in more pain. So they come to see me saying, I'm in the worst pain of my life. It's even worse than it was before. And part of the reason it's worse than it was before is because we have this self-betrayal going back, knowing what we already knew, and yet we betrayed ourselves. We fell for it again. So there's some self-loathing and some mistrust of the self that happens when we go back to a situation that we knew on so many levels was unhealthy. But the reason we go back is because we want to believe that that person is different than he really is or she really is. So in order to become unhooked and move on, we have to get very, very clear that a narcissist or a sociopath or a borderline is not going to change for you. They're not going to be what you need them to be. They're not going to be a healthy partner. They will always be a toxic partner if you are with them. You will always have an unhealthy, toxic relationship. So you have to be really honest with yourself. Is this what I want? Now, a lot of people feel this is what they deserve. This is the best I can do. And this comes from our own core wounds of believing that we're not enough or that we don't deserve to have a good and loving relationship, that on some level we don't deserve to be loved. If that's happening for you, you've got to work on these core wounds and up-level your beliefs to a place of I do deserve a good relationship. I do deserve love. I do deserve to be treated well. Because from that negative core belief of I don't deserve, then you will keep attracting people who don't treat you well, people who use you, people who abuse you. And you will stay hooked into those relationships out of a belief that this is what you deserve. So this needs to be changed in you. And you need to come to the acceptance that that other person isn't going to fill your needs. That other person is not going to be there for you in any kind of healthy, nurturing, and loving way. You have to understand that anyone with a cluster B personality disorder, which is your narcissist, your borderlines, your sociopaths, your paranoid personalities, that they're not going to be able to offer you anything real because they're so self-absorbed. They're so absorbed in their own unhealthy way of seeing life, their own distorted perceptions, that they can't even really see you at all. You are just a canvas which they project what their shadow is. They project their shadow out onto you. And that's where, at first you might be this really beautiful, amazing person. Of course you are, but they see that more because they're in that idealized state of being. And then as you go further and deeper into the relationship, their own core wounds are getting triggered. And so they're projecting their woundedness and their shadow out onto the canvas, which is you. And they don't really see who you are. They don't really see your attempts and your effort and everything that you're doing. They really see you as a reflection of their own shadow. So this will always be the case, and this is what you have to understand, is these cluster B personality disorders are always just going to see you as a reflection of their own shadow. They will not see you. And most of us, especially on a healing path, we crave being seen. We crave being heard, being valued, being validated. We all deserve to have that. And so you have to really focus back on yourself and be willing to see yourself, to validate yourself, to love yourself. You're not going to get that from the narcissist. And until you can give it to yourself, you may still be holding out to get that blood from a turnip, get the goods from someone who cannot give you the goods. When you can finally accept that narcissistic person for who he or she is, then you can finally break free. Because you realize, I don't want to have a relationship with somebody like that. When you see who they really are, you can come to terms with reality. You're not living in a fantasy anymore. So you can come to terms with reality. That person is not going to change. That person's not going to be my ideal mate, the love of my life, my soulmate, my twin flame, whatever you want to call it. That person is not going to be what I need. When you can really look at that person objectively and really see who that person is and really acknowledge how that person has treated you and come to the realization, I really don't want this kind of person in my life. I really don't want to live like this. Then you can move forward. Only then can you move on. And don't delude yourself into believing that this narcissistic person is going to have everything you dreamed of with somebody else. It doesn't work like that. They may have the illusion of the ideal relationship with somebody else because that love bombing stage is pretty powerful in the beginning. You remember that, right? If you had it. Some people don't really experience love bombing in the same way, but you know, most people do experience this really amazing first few weeks of the relationship. Sometimes the first few months are amazing before you really start to see that other side, that shadow side coming forward. And so when you witness, you know, on social media or through friends or seeing that person having this great, amazing time with somebody else, it's easy to delude yourself once again that it's real over here when it wasn't real here. But the truth is that same pattern with that narcissistic person plays over and over and over again in all of their relationships. They project the ideal onto the canvas of the person that they're with in the beginning, and then their shadow starts to come up, and they can't stop that shadow from coming up. They haven't done any of their shadow work. They haven't done any self-reflection. So they can't stop that shadow from coming up from the subconscious and overwhelming them and causing those defenses, those narcissistic defenses. They don't have any control over that. So it's going to happen time and time again, whether it is with you or whether it is with someone else. Now, how long you stay with that person or how long somebody else stays with that person really is not important, because we all have different levels of wounding, and how deep our wounds are will determine how long we're willing to put up with abuse and neglect. You know, that's really what it's all about. If you stay with somebody for a long time, you're continuing to put up with that bad behavior, maybe telling yourself it's going to get better. And anybody that's been in a relationship like this long enough, no, it's not going to get better. It doesn't get better. It's cyclical, yes. You might have very short honeymoon periods in that relationship. You might have times where everything's okay, but abuse is cyclical. So that shadow is always going to come up and overwhelm that narcissist and cause that narcissist to project his shadow onto you. And often during that time is where you might get a devaluing and discarding. And then when things calm back down, that person may reach out and try to suck you back in, or not. They might have sucked somebody else back in. The thing is you have to be honest with yourself about what you really want, need, and deserve to have in your life. So when you can truly accept that person for who they are, you can move on. You can become unhooked. Now, I do a psychic cord cutting process in hypnotherapy. I've been doing this for years, and people really have great results. That's another piece to the puzzle that I would like to share with you in the next video. So stay tuned to find out more about unhooking through psychic cord cutting. We'll go a little bit deeper into that process. For now, I just want to thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and share if you feel this would be valuable for somebody else. This really helps my channel to grow and helps me to reach more people like you. So thank you so much for watching. I love you, and we'll see you next time.